like to thank Jesus Christ for my salvation, for pulling me out of a deep, dark pit. I found myself at a very young age addicted to drugs and alcohol. And there was no way for me to get out of that lifestyle. When I was very young, I started taking pills, and I don't even remember the feeling of being high or thinking about it in any kind of way where it was wrong or that it would affect my life. And those years added up, and over time I tried different drugs, and everything I tried I became addicted to. And I found myself struggling with anger and depression and just cycles of violence. And there's nothing in my own strength that would help me to change my life. I read every self-help book. I tried every kind of formula, every kind of step program, every kind of way to get better. I tried meditation, yoga, different kinds of diets, different kinds of exercise. I tried changing my job. I would change my location. I would change my boyfriend. And no matter what I would do to change the outside stuff, inside I was still broken. And it was that brokenness that led me down darker and darker paths. Finally, I realized that I could no longer support myself. I had fallen into a dark, depressive state, and it was in that state that I began to lose everything. And I went to doctors, and I was prescribed medication for depression. I went to doctors and asked for mental evaluations because I felt like I was literally losing my mind. And each time the doctors would come back and tell me that I was fine, that I was sad. And I couldn't explain to them that it was more than being sad, that there was something missing inside of me, that there was something inside of me that was broken. No medication would take that away. No kind of a prescription would ever make me feel right. And in fact, I found I couldn't even take antidepressants. It would make my thoughts even stranger. It would make my feelings even worse. And so I went full force into a meth addiction. I found myself at 34 years old addicted to meth just because I was sick of feeling like nothing. And I thought, if I do something, maybe I'll at least feel some kind of way. I can't sit here anymore. And maybe if I do this, it'll make me be able to do something. And so at 34 years old, I found myself addicted to meth. And that's when I really threw everything away. I was unable to support myself financially, and I was no good for anyone. I was not someone that was fun to be around, and no matter what I would do, trouble would follow me. And I finally became so tired of the life I was living, the lifestyle that I was in. I was sick of everything. And it was in that time of desperation that I turned to the Lord. And that should have been my first option, but it never was. And so many times God lets us go down our own path, and He lets us go down for a while, knowing that the solution is Him, but we have to choose Him. We have to choose to get saved. We have to decide to let Him help us. And it was in a moment of desperation that I finally reached out to the Lord. And with a sincere heart, with a broken and contrite spirit, I cried out to God and I asked Him to help me. I asked Him to change my life. I said, God, if you take this addiction from me, then I promise I'll serve you for the rest of my life. And it was in that moment that I was provided a miracle. And I say it's a miracle because if you've ever been around someone that's an alcoholic or a drug addict, for them to go more than a day or so without a drink or without using something, it's really hard and almost impossible. That's why people don't quit so easily, because it's not just the physical addiction, but it's mental, it's psychological, it's emotional. And it was immediately after I said that prayer that I lost the desire to drink, and that desire never came back. I never ever went back to drinking alcohol again. I never had another cigarette again. And it was in that moment of change where I realized that there was a spark inside of me, that something different had happened. There'd been a shift. And I realized I had the strength to get out. I had the strength to leave my neighborhood. I had the strength to leave my friends, my family, and to do something brand new that I'd never done before. And I sought help. I got as far away from my little town as I could, and I ended up in Phoenix, Arizona. And I ended up in a women's home where I sought help. And I was willing to do anything that they told me to do because I felt like God had brought me there. And I felt that if I did what they told me to do and I was able to get better, I could actually change and live a better life. I was so sick of myself. I was willing to do anything to get a new life and become a different type of person. And now I'm so blessed. I'm almost 6 years clean and sober. And not only has God freed me from the bondage of addiction and depression, not only has he freed me from having all the continued cycles of loss and violence that I was so used to, but he has also granted me a blessed life. So it's not just being freed from one thing and that's the end of the story. I was given something better than what I gave up. I gave up the pieces of a broken life, and I was able to receive a life that was restored, and I was restored back to Jesus Christ. And it was in that process I found my husband. I found a new family. I still love the family I was raised with, but now I can be a good example for my siblings. I can be a good example for my nephews, for my cousins. I can show them that there's a different way to live, that they could see me at the end of my addiction, broken and lost, not good for anything, and they can look at me now and see that I am not only saved and serving Christ, but I'm making a difference. I'm making a difference not just in our little area, but I'm making a difference that hopefully will be felt around the world. If I can change, then anyone can change. And I'm here right now to tell you that it's all through the Lord. If you have any kinds of questions, if you have any kind of concerns about the way that you're living, if you feel like you're on a wrong path, or if you feel like you could just do better, if you have old hurts in your life or bad habits that you want to break, I urge you to turn to the Lord, because Jesus Christ truly is the way, the truth, and the life, and he will pull you out